What's up, y'all? Hope everybody out there is having an awesome day. I have a whole bunch of breaking news here to get to for you. So let's start with this. We have Tom Homan in Minnesota. He came out and said, quote, "I have proposed and Trump has concurred that this surge operation conclude. A significant drawdown has already been underway this week and will continue." So look, that is awesome news. However, I'll believe it when I see it, because they said before they were going to draw down 700 troops, ICE thugs, and I don't know if they did it or didn't do it, but according to people on the ground, people were still being harassed left and right. And they were still just being destroyed by this illegal occupation. And so the last time it was a bit of a head fake and they didn't really mean it and they kept up the pressure. And I think Stephen Miller just wanted some PR victory as he continued to basically do his reign of terror in Minneapolis. But at least according to what Homan is saying now, they're actually going to withdraw. So we'll wait and see, but don't trust a single fucking word these people say until they show it with their actions. But man, shout out to all the protesters on the ground there who did not let up. Shout out to all the people who were observers of the ICE Gestapo thugs. You made their lives basically impossible. And that definitely had a huge impact here. All right, so we also have, this is crazy. So Politico's out with some new numbers here. There are 373 federal judges who ruled against ICE's mass detention policy, which, make no mistake about it, that's the policy of let's shove people in concentration camps, which is what they're doing as they're building 23 new concentration camps, by the way. Okay, so 373 federal judges ruled against ICE. Only 28 have ruled in favor of them. 28. So that's overwhelming, bro. That is overwhelming. Apparently, of the Trump appointees, 44 have ruled against ICE and only 20 have ruled for ICE. So even among the Trump judges, they're going, this is wildly unconstitutional and this is not allowed. This is not allowed. Now, unfortunately, what happens is the Trump regime will likely appeal all the way to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court, on this thing called the shadow docket, that basically allows them to make decisions without it being an official decision, without it setting precedent. And on the shadow docket, they've overwhelmingly ruled in favor of whatever Trump wants to do. So unfortunately, it looks like law and order is being upheld at the lower levels for the courts. But when it gets to the Supreme Court, they're like the supremely corrupt court, and they just do whatever Trump wants. So we'll have to wait and see. But I find these numbers astounding that basically virtually every judge in the country, the overwhelming majority, know that we're looking at fascism being ushered into the country, and they're issuing decisions to try to stop it. Now, on that note, we have Judge Boasberg, who ordered the Trump administration to facilitate the return of Venezuelan men that they illegally deported under the Alien Enemies Act and who were sent to countries other than Venezuela, okay? So this is something they've been doing, which is this is just mental. They take people and they deport them, and they send them to a country they've never been to and they don't speak the language of. Right? People have been sent to Libya, which is a failed state, and they have open slave markets. That is evil beyond cognition. What the hell are you talking about? So he's now saying you have to bring those people back. Will they actually do it? We'll have to see. By law, they're required to, but that's still not a guarantee, because as of July, they blew off 57 different court orders, which accounted for, at the time, about 34% of all the court orders, okay? So they're basically snubbing the court 34% of the time. I would imagine now that number's even higher, probably over 50% of the time they're snubbing the court. We also have this. This is really interesting, but some new data has come out about immigration, and as mass deportations have gone up, native-born unemployment has also gone up. So that's the exact opposite of what the right tells us would happen. They say, hey, the more you deport people, undocumented immigrants, the more Americans will have the ability to get those jobs. Turns out that's not true. The exact opposite happens. You lower immigration, you deport more people, and unemployment rises for everybody. All right. The Trump administration right now, according to NBC News, is dramatically expanding an effort to revoke U.S. citizenship for foreign-born Americans. They want to revoke U.S. citizenship for people who are Americans, but they're foreign-born. So this is just, I'm telling you, man, it's an all-out war on the best of this country. That's the only way to describe it. They also want to strip birthright citizenship, which is literally in the Constitution. They will stop at nothing to go full white nationalist and white supremacist. So just horrible, horrible stuff. We also have some new reporting from the Bulwark where somebody who used to work at an ICE concentration camp talks about how horrible the conditions are. So get this. I'll read this for you. Quote, they said when people go for medical attention because they're vomiting, for instance, more often than not, they're just given Tylenol or Advil. Quote, all the kids are sick. I've never gotten sick before, but when I worked there, I was always sick. It's hard for the children to sleep because the lights are always on in the rooms, which that's torture, by the way. That's torture to leave the lights on 24/7. That's what they do at CCOT, the literal concentration camp in El Salvador. Quote, they're treated like criminals, but most of them have done it the right way. They were picked up at their court appointments. So they're going through the process the right way, and they still get, swooped up and illegally detained. Quote, people complain that they're doing it the wrong way, but when they do it the right way, you detain and deport them, so it's a lose-lose situation. And forget about the 20-day detention limit for minors and little ones, the former employee said. They know a mother who has been there 130 days, and the woman's 11-year-old daughter has been with her the whole time. The whole time. So, basically in every way, shape, and form, they're just violating the law, and they're treating people like absolute animals. And this country has already fully descended into fascism, where we get stories like this, and nothing seems to change. The courts say, hey, you can't do that, and nothing seems to change. This is why we've said multiple times we need new Nuremberg trials. Stephen Miller's got to go to prison. Kristi Noem's got to go to prison. Donald Trump's got to go to prison, because this stuff is atrocious. This stuff is atrocious, what we're looking at here. How about this? Plus 972 magazine says that ICE operations increasingly resemble Israeli occupation tactics, okay? U.S. immigration enforcement has long cultivated ties with Israel, and now it adapts algorithmic surveillance tactics from Gaza for use on American streets. So in other words, you know that Palantir mass blackmail database that they're creating? Yeah, they already did this the first time in Gaza. They do biometric screening. They get all this information on you. They create a blackmail file on you. They put you on a terror watch list if, God forbid, you're protesting the Gestapo. And now we know they're literally like this with the IDF. They train with the IDF. They use the same tactics as the IDF. They use the same programs as the IDF. And we know what the IDF is all about. We know what they're about. We know that they don't give a fuck about anybody's constitutional rights, anybody's human rights, about basic morality. And so this is who the ICE Gestapo thugs are here to resemble. And we've already seen so many examples. What do? They assault somebody, they attack somebody, they shoot somebody, and then they play the victim. And they tell a flat-out lie to justify killing somebody, assaulting somebody, attacking somebody, etc. We've seen it countless times. And then video will come out, and it totally debunks their narrative, and they still keep lying. This is all classic IDF shit. This is the Israelification of the U.S. deep state is what this is, okay? All right, how about this one? A Customs and Border Protection supervisor was arrested after allegedly harboring an undocumented immigrant girlfriend who was also his niece. Was also his niece, bro. Sometimes there's no words for the depravity. The depravity is so low, there's nothing you can say. Just, goodness gracious. So, the American Prospect posted this article. ICE is strangling the Minneapolis economy. Okay? And so this is something people haven't really talked about, but the impact of the illegal occupation of ICE in Minneapolis is basically that Minneapolis is barbecue chicken. Like, the economy there is basically like it was during the heart of COVID or during the peak of the Great Recession. So now all these small businesses are going to go under unless there's some sort of a bailout. So at the state level, they're talking about a bailout, but of course the state government wants the federal government to pay for it because they caused all the problems, right? So they basically destroyed a great American city for what? To round up a bunch of innocent people and send them to a concentration camp? Yes, that's exactly what it is. And so now something needs to be done for the economy because the economy is just obliterated by this illegal occupation. The Trump administration has committed a mass violation of ICE detainees' constitutional rights in Minneapolis, effectively blocking their access to attorneys in the Whipple building. A judge just ruled that last night. And the judge who ruled that, by the way, her name is Nancy Brazel, and she's a Trump appointee. So even the Trump appointees in Minneapolis are going, you can't block people from legal counsel. This isn't like some banana republic. Like, what is wrong with you? But that's what they do. Because, honestly, they want it to be a banana republic. They would prefer it be a banana republic. And Trump have literally all the power with no checks and no balances on it whatsoever. All right, ICE, according to Ken Klibenstein here, he has some new reporting out. ICE is now masking up in more ways than one. They're authorized to covertly infiltrate and interact with social media accounts under a new program called masked engagement. Okay? So, you know that over $100 billion that went to the DHS under the big bullshit bill? This is what a lot of this stuff is going towards. It's going towards building those 23 concentration camps, paying the ICE Gestapo thugs, and it's going towards an infiltration program where you get trolled on social media from some asshole who loves ICE, and they try to add your name to a terrorist watch list because you dare to criticize them. That's what this is. That is actually what this is. It's unbelievable, unbelievable stuff. So now let's talk a little bit about Epstein. There's a new article out from Migrant Insider. Ghislaine Maxwell apparently lied on her U.S. citizenship application, which is a crime. And, she claimed she had no criminal record when she did have a criminal record. So isn't it ironic here that Trump will go after legal immigrants, but an undocumented immigrant like Ghislaine, who committed a crime and lied and is a rapist, apparently she gets off scot-free and she gets to be sent to basically a resort prison instead of the maximum security prison she was in. A lot of people forget that story, but Trump already did Ghislaine Maxwell a solid by sending her to this resort where she literally has a puppy. The warden acts like her fucking butler. She gets to do yoga whenever she wants. She gets to watch TV and movies whenever she wants. She gets to leave her cell for an extended period of time, seemingly daily. Okay? So if you're a legal immigrant, sorry, we're going to try to strip your citizenship and kick you out of the country. Don't care that you never committed a crime. But if you're an undocumented immigrant, criminal, rapist, Trump's going to bend over backwards to try to help you out. Okay? So just so disturbing. This is kind of interesting. Good Morning Britain is reporting that the late Queen lent then Prince Andrew £7 million so he could pay off Virginia Giuffre, who, of course, accused him of sexually abusing her. Right? Damn. When your ass has to go to the Queen, you went to the Queen, hat in hand, on bended knee, begging her, hey, can you please give me £7 million to bail me out because I'm a disgusting pervert criminal? And I guess she did it. But in the end, he got his title stripped anyway. But as Ro Khanna says, look, that's the bare minimum of what should happen to this guy. What should happen to this guy is way worse than just not being a prince anymore. This guy, they should lock him up and throw away the goddamn key. That's the bottom line about him. All right. So when Donald Trump was president in 2018, this is one of the Epstein files that had come out. People are now going through more and more of the specifics. Remember, there's already 3 million documents. It takes a long time to go through all that. People can keyword search, so things are slowly but surely coming out day after day, right? But when Donald Trump was president in 2018, Larry Summers emailed Epstein and asked if he would be visiting Mar-a-Lago. And Epstein replied, quote, I'm being asked for 3 names to replace Mnuchin. Talking about Steve Mnuchin, who was a Trump official, okay? So it looks like Epstein was advising Trump all the way in 2018, a year before his death, and likely visited Mar-a-Lago at some point. So in other words, this is further validation of the reporting where we learned that Trump offered Epstein a job in his first administration. Nobody talks about this, but Trump offered Epstein a job in his first administration, likely to get him to shut the hell up about all the dirt that he had on him, right? And Epstein, of course, turned it down, but he was still making globally important decisions. They were going to him for advice. Why? Because he's part of the shadow government of moneyed interests that actually runs the world. This is what I'm saying. People need to truly wrap their minds around this. There is a group of billionaire pedophile sadists who actually run the world, and Jeffrey Epstein is one of them, and he was making decisions at the highest level a year before he was killed. And by the way, who do you think had him killed? That's a tough one. How about this? The Sultan that we've talked about in the Epstein files, the head of the Dubai-based logistics group DP World. He left his post after revelations over his ties with Epstein. So seemingly he was fired, or I don't know if he stepped down. I'm sure there's somebody above him who can fire him. But this is the guy who was caught saying, like, or Epstein said to him, like, hey, where are you? Loved the torture video. That was this Sultan. And this Sultan was one of the top people who communicated with Epstein all the time. Like, he actually viewed Epstein as his buddy, as his friend. And he would talk to him all the time. And apparently that got him in enough trouble where now he's out at DP World. And he was responsible for like 10% of the shipping containers around the world. I mean, again, this is a phenomenally powerful position. And the fact that he's going down, look, it does go to show you, in all these other countries, there are consequences. There are actual consequences. But in the U.S., this is the only place where Howard Nutlick gets caught red-handed, Donald Trump gets caught red-handed, and nothing seems to happen, right? The rest of the world is laughing at us because there actually are people who are getting fired, whose reputations are being destroyed, okay? But on that point, I do think we have one scalp to show. So New York Times is reporting that Goldman Sachs top lawyer, Catherine Rumler, has just resigned in the wake of the Justice Department's release of the Epstein emails, and it revealed that she had a very close relationship with Epstein. So I don't know. Is this the first one that we've seen from the U.S.? And let's remember, she's not in the government. She's resigning from Goldman Sachs. Resigning. I'm sure she got fired from Goldman Sachs, right? I'd love to. People in the government got to go down. And again, we're just getting started. The fact of the matter is these people need to be indicted, tried, convicted, and locked up. And then the motherfucking key needs to be thrown into the Pacific Ocean. All right. So at least there's one person here. There's some semblance of some consequences, but it should just be the beginning. All right, so this is interesting. The Telegraph posted this. There's this world-renowned pathologist, okay, forensic pathologist, Dr. Michael Baden. And this guy, of course, he does like autopsies and stuff. He said, quote, "My opinion is that Epstein's death was most likely caused by strangulation pressure rather than hanging." So this guy did an autopsy of Epstein after Epstein died, and he said the same thing then. Well, now the Telegraph apparently reached out to him and talked to him some more, and he goes into all of his reasoning and his evidence as to how, for sure, Epstein was killed. He didn't commit suicide, okay? So that's sort of a giant deal, and it further validates my suspicion that there were so many wealthy, powerful, famous people who wanted him dead and had every incentive and every reason to, and oh, would you look at that, he wound up dead. So how about this one, again, from the Epstein files? A Columbia student goes missing. Epstein's girlfriend sends him a link about it, and she was later found dead in the Hudson River. It's worth noting that the alleged victims have claimed Epstein disposed of bodies in lakes and threatened to feed one girl to alligators in a Florida swamp. So, yeah, kind of disturbing that you have a news article that Epstein's girlfriend emailed to Epstein, didn't say anything, and he didn't say anything back, and it's just an article of a missing dental student from Columbia. Okay? Jesus Christ, man. I believe the worst about all of this. I absolutely believe the reason that was sent is because Epstein killed her and disposed of her, right? Because again, there are different victims who've claimed that there are threats. There have been threats. I'm going to dump you in that lake. I'm going to dump you in that river. I'm going to dump you in that pond. I'm going to fucking, the Trump threat of bury you out there on the golf course where nobody will find you. Like, this stuff is in there. So just absolutely horrific stuff. This is really interesting. So the New Mexico Land Commissioner, Stephanie Garcia Richard, she just demanded a full criminal probe into the leak in the Epstein files where they talked about two girls who were strangled during, quote, rough fetish sex and buried in the hills near Epstein's Zorro Ranch. So I'm sure you remember that email. We covered that email on our show. Other people have highlighted it as well. Now you have people in the government in New Mexico demanding a full investigation and an attempt to find the remains of these girls, right? And again, this gets back to the fact that the DOJ and the FBI, these assholes have said repeatedly, like, oh, there's nothing we can do, bro. There's no evidence of any crimes anyway. Like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? You can't read through 3 emails without finding some evidence of a crime. Are you kidding? And there's millions of emails. They're insulting our intelligence every single day. All right. We also have a memo from the Bureau of Prisons that says that Epstein's cellmate, Nicholas Tartaglione, who we discussed the other day, he was found in possession of a cell phone on July 2nd, a few days prior to Epstein showing up to the Metropolitan Correctional Center, okay? The call history is redacted. On July 23rd, 2019, Epstein was found unresponsive with neck injuries, and when he regained consciousness, he told guards that Tartaglione tried to kill him. That's his cellmate. And the cellmate said, hey, Trump wanted Epstein dead. The cellmate just said that, and we just covered that, okay? Tartaglione was a former police officer with 4 life sentences for multiple murders, and he had a history of hating child sex offenders. So they put this guy in the cell with Epstein, and he allegedly tried to kill him. And again, he was found with a cell phone 2 days before Epstein went into the same cell as him. This does not take a rocket scientist to figure out what went down here and how they ended up together, right? Right. Jeffrey Epstein also invited Bill Gates to his island and told him the month after Trump was first elected, the, quote, new administration people were visiting. So again, further evidence of how close Epstein and the Trump regime were, that it casually admitting to Bill Gates, like, oh yeah, I'm here with the new administration people. Who exactly that was, we don't know, but it was definitely somebody. It was definitely somebody. Some more accountability elsewhere. Norway arrested their former prime minister for his Epstein corruption. He was charged with something called like gross corruption or aggravated corruption. And yet again, it's nice to see that in other places, things still matter. They still matter in other places. Some political official in Slovenia also had to resign. Now you got this Norway thing. You've had, somebody had to resign in UK politics, or I think multiple people may have resigned in UK politics. So again, elsewhere, people actually give a shit, and that's nice to see. Dropsite News now, let's talk a little bit about Israel, because Dropsite News says the following. Whistleblowers told the Electronic Intifada that the Committee to Protect Journalists, the CPJ, scrapped its annual impunity index because Israel was set to rank number 1. Jesus Christ. So I don't know how they get away with this. I don't know how they pull the strings. I don't know who they know and how they get away with it. But Israel basically having this thing basically scrapped completely because it correctly points out that they're the worst when it comes to treating journalists like shit. And they murdered like 250 journalists. There were more journalists murdered by Israel within the past 2 years than there's been in like all of World War II and all of Vietnam and every single war you've ever heard of. So the fact that the nerve of them to even try to do something like this, to pretend like, how dare you put us, of course you're fucking first. You guys are first in every single thing that is evil and atrocious and disgusting and wrong. Okay? There's no way around that. No matter how much they try to get around that, there is no way around that. But it's just crazy. So apparently the CPJ is infiltrated, and they've completely and utterly destroyed their credibility and bent over backwards here to protect Israel. All right, so this is super disturbing, but you know how Alberta, Canada, the Trump regime has now been using them to try to say, oh, these people want to be independent from Canada, and they actually hate Canada, and they love the U.S. more, and maybe they should be part of the U.S., or maybe they should declare their own independence. And the reason the Trump regime is doing this is they're copying the Russian playbook with what Russia did with Ukraine, where they talk about, oh, the Donbass, there's a lot of ethnic Russians there. They don't want to be part of the Ukraine, and they want to be part of our country. And so, hey, we're just helping them defend themselves by giving them weapons and giving them support, right? And then that helped lay the groundwork and set the table for Vladimir Putin to illegally and offensively invade Ukraine. And of course, the war is still going on to this day. Well, Trump basically used that playbook, the Vladimir Putin playbook, and now he's saying, oh, Alberta separatists are having a meeting with U.S. officials and asking Trump to help them set up an army. An army. Quote, group plotting to break up with Canada reveals jaw-dropping details of secret meetings with Trump team. Again, this is so crazy. Like, everybody knows what you're doing. Everybody knows it's the Russian playbook. Nobody was talking about fucking independence from Canada 7 seconds ago. This is all mucked up. And this is Trump trying to say fuck you to Canada. In the same way he was saying we're going to steal Greenland. In the same way he's saying we're going to take Panama. Same way he's saying we're going to bomb Mexico. They did kidnap Maduro and they are controlling Venezuelan oil. They're trying to collapse Cuba. This is just imperialism and colonialism run amok. And everybody sees it. Everybody sees it. So there's this great report that just came out in ProPublica. There's this federal tool to check voter citizenship, and it keeps making mistakes, right? Now, my theory is they know it's mistakes. They don't care. They're just trying to purge the voter rolls. This is like ballot purging. It's the classic right-wing trick. You just kick people off the voter rolls, and it makes it harder for them to vote, right? And the more people you kick off, the more people from Democratic areas, the more people with like black-sounding names, for example, the more you reduce Democratic turnout. It's all planned. It's all planned. So ProPublica has a huge investigation on this. They said, an expanded federal tool for identifying non-citizens on voter rolls is making persistent mistakes, particularly in assessing citizenship for people born outside the U.S. In Missouri, state officials told local clerks to temporarily ban flagged voters from casting ballots, even though hundreds turned out to be citizens. Again, ballot purging, that's what this is. As errors emerged in save data, local clerks said the state hadn't provided them with clear guidance and worried about disenfranchising eligible citizens. Again, that's the point. They want you to disenfranchise those citizens. Of course they do, because this is the only way Republicans can win. Put their thumb on the scale. It really is that simple. And so you get seemingly every show, we have a new voter suppression story for you, where this is what the Republicans do. This is what they do. They know in this moment, Trump's at a 36% approval rating. Everybody hates Republicans. They're cooked. And so their only way out is to lie, cheat, and steal, right? And find ways to cut corners. And that's what they're doing. Bloomberg posted about OpenAI. They said OpenAI has warned U.S. lawmakers that its Chinese rival DeepSeek is using unfair and increasingly sophisticated methods to extract results from leading U.S. AI models to train the next generation of its breakthrough R1 chatbot. Okay, so as CoffeeZilla says, AI companies are now complaining about someone stealing their hard work. That's the most ironic thing I've ever heard of. They're basically like plagiarism machines, right? Like the whole point of AI is like, let's do mass plagiarism. And now they're complaining that Chinese AI is relying on some of the stuff from their models. Like you're relying on stuff that other people arguably have a right to. You know what I'm saying? Their own intellectual property. So I am not going to shed a tear about this. And by the way, check out Crystal Kyle and Friends. It drops tonight because we had on my buddy Brandon, also known as Pretty Bad Lefty on Twitter. He's awesome. And we talked about AI and this crazy AI story about how all of the top-level safety officials at the AI companies are basically panicking, and they're like, I'm resigning because things are not looking good. So you have the safety guys going, yeah, this is kind of not safe. I'm outski. So that's a big red flag, man. That's the biggest of the red flags I've ever heard. And yeah, so we talk about that and many other things. So sign up for Crystal Kyle and Friends to see that whole podcast. You'll also get some teaser clips that drop on the YouTube channel, but definitely check that out. Trump is considering exiting the U.S.-Mexico-Canada agreement, the USMCA, which, by the way, is a deal that he negotiated. So there, of course, was NAFTA. This is the renegotiation of NAFTA. And as per usual, this is what Trump does. He'll like make a deal, and then second he doesn't like it, he'll rip that bitch up, destroy, the United States' reputation on the global scene. He's done it when it came to the Paris Climate Agreement. He did it when it came to the Iran nuclear agreement. He's done it with, the UN and the World Health Organization and all this stuff. I mean, we'll have a commitment and he'll just rip it up. And then he's surprised when nobody else wants to work with us anymore because we don't operate in good faith. So now you take your deal that you did with Canada and you rip that bitch up. I mean, it's classic Trump, and it's exactly why there's going to be rapid de-dollarization happening, certainly within my lifetime, and that's going to leave the U.S. economy absolutely destroyed because the crisis in confidence in the dollar is going to be catastrophic. We could be looking at hyperinflation in a scenario like that. How about this? The Guardian did a piece here. Elon Musk posted about race almost every day in January. Many social media posts by Tesla CEO on his platform are indiscernible from those of white supremacists, say experts. You know, I don't think you need experts to say that. Like, I think everybody knows that. Like, he will literally retweet somebody, and then you go and look at the Twitter profile of the person he retweeted, and it's just straight up, like, Nazi shit. Like, no ambiguity, perfectly black and white, no gray area. You don't need to interpret anything. It's just right there for you. It's not a dog whistle. It's a foghorn right in your face, okay? And so, by the way, shout out to everybody back in the day who said, he's not Zig Heiling. What are you talking about? That's not Zig Heiling. What do you mean? Well, here we are, and now he literally is posting about race every single day. The guy's a white nationalist. It's that simple. He's a white nationalist. He was raised in apartheid South Africa, okay? He internalized the values of that system. His dad was a fucking massive racist. Do you think we were born yesterday? Okay? No, we know what this man is. We know what he is. On top of being a fraud, on top of being the king of vaporware, on top of being a massive welfare queen, where he took $38 billion from the American government to launch rockets that blow up immediately. So just incredible stuff here. He's a Nazi. That's what he is. Elon Musk is a fucking Nazi. All right. Americans for Tax Fairness posted this. The Trump administration is going to cut $600 million in health funding from 4 states. And the states are all led by Democrats. And the grants support a wide variety of functions like HIV prevention and surveillance. Okay? So this is $600 million cut in health funding cuts. $600 million. That's absolutely devastating. And this is on top of all the Doge bullshit, too. The cuts to pediatric cancer research, the cuts to Meals on Wheels, the CFPB, the nuclear safety officials, the FDA. So this is, they're going for it. They're going for it. They want, and every single penny of this comes out of healthcare and goes straight into tax breaks for billionaires. Okay? So it is class war. That's what it is. It's the clearest example of class war I think I've ever seen. We also have this new article coming out in NBC. You have the middle class is now donating their blood plasma at higher levels than ever before because they can't fucking pay the bills. Yes, that's how far we've fallen, is that you need to donate your blood plasma in order to stay in your house. Yeah, nothing rough there, nothing bad to see there. That's all perfectly normal and perfectly acceptable, right? That's all... Whatever, bro. No big deal. I mean, like, what's next? Are you gonna have to donate a fucking kidney next in order to pay your cell phone bill? Is that where we're heading? Because it certainly looks like that's where we're heading. Because the entire economy now is nothing but a giant scam. Like, what are the leading industries? OnlyFans? Gambling? I'm serious. AI scams? So there's like gambling, AI scams, OnlyFans, and like the service sector where you work full time and you make less than a living wage. But there's nothing left. And then now, with AI being rolled out, that's going to be an apocalypse for white collar jobs in the same way that outsourcing was an apocalypse for blue collar jobs. So it's just so horrible, so horrible. All right, I wanted to also shout out this guy, Robert Kagan, who's a conservative historian, and he is sounding the alarm, okay? He said, quote, "I think we are one big step into dictatorship already." Well, I think we are one big step into dictatorship already. It's not clear to me that any institution in the United States is really prepared to stand up to Donald Trump. It seems the only people who are willing to stand up to Trump are average American citizens in Minneapolis and elsewhere, and God bless them for that. But the U.S. Congress, both parties, are unwilling to really fight Trump. The Republicans have become the party of dictatorship, so I think we are one deep foot into dictatorship, and I'm worried, as I've said and others have been pointing out, about whether we will even have free and fair elections in 2026, let alone in 2028. I think Trump has a plan to disrupt those elections, and I don't think he's willing to allow Democrats to take control of one or both houses, as could happen in a free election. So yeah, man, there's the warning, and this is coming from a conservative. I've been giving it to you. Now a conservative's giving it to you. And the fact of the matter is, the courts need to be brought in on this. They need to know, hey, here's going to be Trump's plan. This is how it's going to unfold. You need the Democratic state officials to be in on this. You need the state National Guard in on this. You need the cops in on this. You need to let them know, hey, Trump is going to do, if there's a red mirage scenario, which is likely, Trump is going to say, oh, fraud is happening now that the mail-in votes are being counted and Democrats just overtook the lead, so send in the National Guard, or send in the military, or send in ICE to go seize the ballots. And we need cops to block ICE or whoever it is from illegally trying to seize the ballots, okay? We need court injunctions. Like, we can't let them ever get custody of those ballots, because the second they do that, that's it. You're never going to know the actual winner of the election. You're never going to know the specifics, because you break down the chain of custody and it's a wrap. It's over. Those shits could be tainted with, it'll be a mess. And we know he never loses gracefully. It's never fucking happened, okay? And he's about to lose massively. So it's just, again, everybody needs to wake the fuck up as to what's going to happen, and everybody needs to prepare. And I don't think many people are prepared. I think Democrats largely have shoved their head in the sand, certainly elected Democrats, and that's unacceptable. All right, so this is end times type stuff here, or certainly the collapse of a country type stuff here. Moderna CEO announced that the company will no longer invest in new phase 3 vaccine trials for infectious diseases. You cannot make a return on investment if you don't have access to the U.S. market. Vaccines for the Epstein-Barr virus and herpes and shingles have been shelved. So now you got these companies working on vaccines for all these things that we need vaccines for, and now they go, I guess let's stop that. Why? Well, because vaccines are not really in vogue at the moment, and they're not popular at the moment, and HHS is run by RFK Jr., the biggest anti-vax crank in the country. And, the current marketing conditions are not right for us to really go down that path, because we don't know how profitable it'll be. Like, do you see the problem yet here with capitalism? And do you see the problem with electing the biggest fucking idiots in the country? It's like, now, this is societal suicide. Basically, what this country just did is they took a loaded gun, pointed it at its dick, and shot its dick off. That's what this is. This is the functional equivalent of a country shooting its dick off. Like, guys, 95% of the countries on Earth are smart enough to know, if you have the ability to do the research to create new vaccines, you do that research, you create the new fucking vaccines. Like, there are literally no downsides to that. But now, the people who run the country are so fucking brainwashed that they're all in on the anti-vax grift. And so, they've effectively scared these companies out of doing it. And the companies think, well, there's going to be no profit in it because we're going to have to jump through 1,000 regulatory hurdles because they're going to block us from basically doing this. So they're just waving the white flag. It's just, God damn it. Again, the speed with which this country came unglued is the most astonishing part. It's the speed with which everything fell apart. All right. So this is crazy in The Guardian, but they have an article called Point of No Return. A hellish hothouse Earth is getting closer, scientists say. Continued global heating could set irreversible course by triggering climate tipping points, but most people are unaware. So the whole point of the article is to say, no, seriously, you guys don't get it. Global warming or climate change, right now, it is so much worse than the worst case scenario. You have no idea, right? Like, us scientists miscalculated. What we thought was the worst case scenario is not what it is. What we're living through now is way worse. And the side effects of that, of course, are going to be not only sea level rise, which is what people think of when they think of climate change, right? But you're also going to have mass drought. You're going to have famine. You're going to have wars over water. You're going to have a colossal refugee crisis. You're going to have, yes, some of the, best, most beautiful cities that exist in the world be under fucking water, right? Like, what are we supposed to do now? What are we supposed to do when the government no longer gives a shit and no longer is even trying to stop this catastrophe from barreling down on us? And at the same time, we're going 1,000 miles an hour in the wrong direction. You have China, and their CO2 emissions have been flat for 21 months. Why? Because they're actually investing in clean energy, and they have a clean energy boom happening right now. Okay? So not only is that good from the climate change perspective, but it's also good in the sense that now they're creating all these new technologies where they'll have patents on it, where they can sell it around the world, and they can make a bunch of money. So this is like the economy of the future, and we're purposely stuck in the past. Donald Trump is so fucking stupid, and the Republicans are so fucking stupid, they're doubling down on the Morse code industry as the fucking telephone was just created. They're doubling down on the horse and buggy industry as the car was just created. That's what they're doing. That's what they're doing. And so just insane. But China really is the world's only hope right now. They're the world's only hope. I'm sure you guys have seen this, but RFK Jr. is being universally mocked because he was on Theo Von's show, and he said, quote, I'm not scared. I'm not scared of a germ. I used to snort cocaine off toilet seats. That's what he said. So now you're seeing all these memes. There's that meme that is originally Drake where he's going like this to the vaccines, but he's going like that to the cocaine on a toilet seat. By the way, that whole podcast was a fucking joke. It's just such a mess. Shout out to the Ebb and Flow YouTube channel. People should go subscribe to that channel and watch the video on RFK because it was just a lie fest. Everything he fucking said in that podcast was a disgusting lie. And it annoys me to no end that this guy's like, viewed favorably online when he's one of the biggest cranks in the fucking world. Theo Von will have on Bernie Sanders, but then have on fucking RFK the same month. And it's like, what are you doing, bro? You're not equipped for a conversation with RFK. You're just not. He lies every time his fucking lips are moving, he's lying, and you don't know how to handle that. You just don't. So check out that video because he breaks it down pretty well there. All right. How about this one? So there's another great ProPublica article. Salty, oily drinking water left sores in their mouths, and Oklahoma refused to find out why. So the story here is about how there's a whole bunch of toxic water in Oklahoma, and state oil regulators have delayed key tests that could find the source of the contamination. The state didn't tell the couple for over a month that tests showed their drinking water was contaminated with high levels of barium, which can cause heart problems, okay? So obviously what's happening here is they're protecting the oil industry. The evidence shows that the pollution is consistent with oil field waste, and they'd rather protect the oil industry than protect the people of Oklahoma from being fucking poisoned. And that shouldn't come as a surprise to people after the Flint water crisis, for example. By the way, the Trump regime cut off over $100 million that was supposed to go to clean up lead water pipes, supposed to take those out and put in new water pipes. The Trump regime is withholding that money. So now you're stuck with your continued lead pipes. I mean, this is how fucking depraved these people are. It's so depraved. It's so depraved. It's literally a government that does not give a fuck about you in the slightest. Not even a little bit, y'all. Not even a little bit. All right. Matt Iglesias is getting dunked on right now because he wrote this article where he basically is trying to blame Trump's corruption on progressives, okay? Like, that's the point of the article. And one reason... So here's what he says. He says, one reason it's harder than it should be to make Trump pay a price for his egregious corruption is that progressive philanthropists have created a network of advocacy organizations that are constantly smearing moderate Democrats as corrupt. Hey, Matthew, kind of an important point here, but the reason they're being accused of corruption is because they are corrupt. They're not as corrupt as Republicans, and their corruption is a little bit different, but they're definitely corrupt. When they take crypto money, that's corrupt. When they take AIPAC money, Israel lobby money, that's corrupt, okay? Now, the Republicans also take oil lobby money and gun lobby money that the moderate Democrats don't take, but it's the same mechanism of corruption. The campaign contributions are the fucking corruption. That's a fact, right? Well, guess what? So he writes this condescending article calling lefties unsophisticated for, accusing people correctly of being corrupt. And at the end of this piece, he announces a gambling sponsorship that he has. So literally the whole point of why are you accusing everybody of being corrupt? Is to make the smoke screen to be like, oh, and by the way, I'm also corrupt. Who's the deal with? I think he did a deal with Polymarket, is it? It's Polymarket, yeah. I mean, what a fucking sellout. What a disgusting sellout. No, you asshole. The reason we call you corrupt is because you are fucking corrupt. It's just a fact, okay? It's just a fact. There's ways to not be corrupt. You could say we're only taking small dollar donations, for example, but you're not doing that, and you don't even want the Democrats to do that because functionally, this guy is not a progressive, okay? He doesn't have the same goals that you and me have. He just doesn't. So just absolute humiliation there. All right, how about this one? So apparently TPUSA is in turmoil because some of the staffers now believe that Charlie Kirk's murder was an inside job. So Candace Owens here. Candace Owens having quite an impact, man. And all I have to say to Kansas is, girl, keep going. Keep going. Because the more you do divide and conquer on the right, the more I love it. Nick Fuentes, same to you, bro. The more you tell these people to stay home and don't vote and get politically disengaged, the better off the world is. Okay? So I love that people within TPUSA are watching Candace Owens. They're starting to believe Candace Owens over Erica Kirk. Everybody knows Erica Kirk's been acting shady as fuck. Not a single person on earth looks at her and goes, oh yeah, that's normal. She's acting normal. The fuck she is. No, she's not. Everybody knows she's not. Okay? But Candace, keep going. Keep going, because TPUSA is going to come down like a house of cards, bro. And it's going to happen very soon. If she keeps hammering away at this narrative and these, young Republican staffers keep having their eyes open slowly day by day. So you absolutely love to see it. Okay, we got to talk a little bit about Argentina, man, because this is just horrible. So Milei decided to go full anarcho-capitalist libertarian asshole, and now he changed the length of the workday from either 8 or 9 hours. He kicked it all the way up to 12 hours. There's dismissal without severance pay now. You got severance pay before, now you don't. And there's a reduction in the right to strike. Okay? So he makes all these changes, then of course there's massive backlash now, and Argentina erupted in protests in the streets. But this is what you get. This is what you get with a libertarian. This is what happens. First of all, he immediately sold out to the globalists. He immediately sold out to the U.S. and global financial interests, right? Trump just gave him $40 billion. He also extreme poverty skyrocketed where people are fucking dumpster diving. He cut the government to the fucking bone. Now he's coming after the length of the workday, which is kind of a big deal because everybody's going to fucking hate you when you tell them, hey, got to work 3 or 4 more hours and do me a favor and shut the fuck up about it and don't complain. And this is what you get from right-wing leaders. This is what you get from an anarcho-capitalist douchebag. And by the way, this guy's mentally unstable. Let's just call it what it is. He is mentally unstable. He doesn't care about the impact his policies have on regular people. As libertarians normally don't give a fuck about that. They're the motherfuckers who want child labor to make a comeback. You would think that issue would be settled among all reasonable people. No, libertarians go, maybe child labor is a good thing. Let's do that again. Let's bring that back. So, just horrible story coming out of Argentina, and I hope they can beat back this elitist takeover and the destruction of their country from within. Wired has an article about cryptocurrency, and they say the use of cryptocurrency in sales of human beings for prostitution and scam compounds nearly doubled in 2025, according to a conservative estimate. Okay? So this shouldn't surprise anybody. We just got the news that guess who is intimately involved in Bitcoin? Jeffrey Epstein apparently bailed out Bitcoin at one point. I believe it was in 2011, I want to say. And so that's a bit iffy. So people are now looking at cryptocurrencies and going, I don't know, there seem to be some weird Mossad ties to this cryptocurrency thing. So they're going through a bit of a struggle session at the moment, right? But now to hear cryptocurrency is being used for the sale of human beings, I don't know, man. It seems sort of shady and dirty and disgusting, perhaps, because it's shady and dirty and disgusting. Perhaps, it actually is what it appears to be, which is a disgusting criminal underground, right? So cryptocurrency not having a good one these days. They really are not. The idea it's going to save the world or whatever, no, it appears like it's for black market illicit use for Epstein-affiliated activities, if you ask me. All right, we have another reason here to not choose Gavin Newsom in the 2028 Democratic primary, because apparently Governor Newsom just proclaimed Ronald Reagan Day for February 6th, 2026. He created an official Ronald Reagan Day. I like politicians who don't suck off Ronald Reagan, personally. You want to know why? Because I'm a Democrat, and that's what Democrats do. They don't suck off Ronald Reagan. Sorry. So, just disgusting. Just disgusting. Why don't you do another podcast with Ben Shapiro? How about that? Or do another podcast with Michael Savage or fucking sloppy Steve Bannon, Epstein's best friend. Why don't you do that? Why don't you let them slap you around a little bit, Why don't you do that? Because this is what he does now. This is what this guy does. As he's fighting a billionaire tax, which is what he's doing, fighting a billionaire tax, he's celebrating a Ronald Reagan Day. Really great. Way to read the temperature of the room there, son. Way to be on top of it. Great politician instinct you have there. So anyway, do not pick this guy for 2028. We can definitely do better. Here's a crazy fact. Get this, and this is real. This is from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Of the 52 million jobs created in America since the year 1989, which is basically like right around when I was born. I was born in 1988, right? So over my lifetime, there were 52 million jobs created. You ready? 51 million of them, 51 million were created by Democrats. 51 of the 52 million jobs. It sounds fake. It's not. I swear to God. You can literally look it up. There's this meme that's floating around Twitter, this chart, and like the first thing everybody's doing is they're going, okay, send it to the fucking like, hey Grok, is this real? And then there's a whole explanation, and it's like, yeah, it's real. And to be fair, AI does suck ass. But I've heard iterations of this fact for a long time. And now under Trump, everything's getting worse. So it would make perfect sense because there was a net loss of jobs under Bush. Like, yeah, if you really think about it and go through it, this actually isn't surprising, even though the fact is overwhelming. But basically, 50,600,000 of the jobs were created by Democrats, and only 1.46 million were created by Republicans. If that doesn't explain everything about American politics, like nothing else does, that's incredible. That is so incredible. And then the last thing I wanted to bring up to you guys here is the Pentagon just ordered a second aircraft carrier to prepare to deploy to the Middle East. And it's probably going to be the USS George H.W. Bush. And it looks like the U.S. is preparing for another military attack on Iran. Netanyahu was also just here the other day, probably trying to convince Trump, hey, you got to follow through with the regime change and attack Iran again. And so buckle up, baby, because I told you that shit was not over. After they did the bombing the last time, I said, you're crazy if you think this thing is over. It is definitely not over. And remember, they have blackmail on Trump. So even if he doesn't want to do it, his arm can be twisted into doing it. There's no way around it. Right? This is what I told you. He could be extorted. He could be coerced. There's videos of him with underage girls. Mossad has them, which means Netanyahu has them, which means it's, hey, bitch, stop pumping the brakes here. It's time. It's time to go after Iran. So it's probably going to happen. It's probably going to happen. If not right now, certainly within the near future. So that is not good, y'all. That is not good at all. Another war. But you know what? Trump might be thinking, hey, shit, at least it'll distract from the Epstein files. I guarantee you that's how he's thinking. Because he used to say that about Obama. That, I bet Obama's going to attack Iran to distract from his poll numbers being low. Well, now Trump's poll numbers are 36%. He's definitely thinking, yeah, why not? I'll attack Iran, and maybe that'll help me. It's not going to help you, bitch. It's not going to help you. This is not what people want. They want, like, the economy to function and to have good jobs, right? And to have health care. And what are you doing? Let's do another war. Let's do a 12th war. That's what he's up to now. So, anyway, guys, do me a big favor. Check out Crystal, Kyle, and Friends tonight. We had an awesome episode. You'll get 2 teaser clips, I believe, that drop. But then also, you're going to want to see the full thing. So sign up on Substack to get the full version, the video version. You're not going to want to miss it. It was an awesome time. And that's what I got for you guys, man. Everybody have a great rest of your day, and I will talk to you soon. Peace.